Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is a Nomad TCG. Today I got another deck profile for you guys. This deck profile is going to be for my Fated One of Unparalleled Varga Dragres for September 2025. We haven't got any new Varga support in a while. We did get a new card in set 7, I believe, but I don't know, I'm not really feeling it in the deck profile. I know we have more coming out in set 11. At least with one support card. It's a new grade 2, which I feel like is just a better version of Boulder Axe. So yeah, I finally finished this deck a couple weeks ago. I just needed one more support card, which was Dragres or Shura, but the deck is now complete, and this is actually one of my favorite decks to play. I love Varga, I love the retiring the rear guards. I'm getting more into Dragon Empire now. Which I wasn't really into before, but for some reason, now I really am. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. For the ride deck, we have the energy generator with just a slight change to the ride line with Rising Star Vergila, just so we can Soul Blast instead of, discarding a card from your hand, because with Varga, I like to keep a lot of cards in my hand. A lot of draw power, just cards to guard with. Then we are having Boulder Axe, and obviously just the one copy of Varga Dragres in the ride line, because you only need one unless you want to run base Varga, which technically you can. There's nothing stopping you from running base Varga, but Rakshasa is just a lot better. So that is the ride line. Starting with the main deck, we are running 4 copies of Unparalleled Dragres, Varga Dragres, Rakshasa. This is just, an upgraded version of Varga Dragres. The Divine Skill doesn't have the restrictions with your opponent being at 4 damage. You can just go right into the turn that you ride Varga Dragres Rakshasa and use the Divine Skill immediately. So always use Rakshasa's Divine Skill instead of Varga Dragres, just so you can use this one, which I feel is just a lot better. Unless you know that you can seal the deal with Dragres, then just do that. But yeah, so its skill is when it attacks in the Malworm state, retire all of your front row rear guards, and this unit gets 10,000 power until the end of that turn. At the end of that battle, counterblast 1, retire all your back row rear guards, and stand this unit, and it gets -2 drives until the end of turn. So even though you are retiring your own rear guards, you're also retiring your opponents, and a lot of your rear guards either have skills that give it extra power, draw power, or you can revive them, as is the case with Shura. And then its Divine Skills at the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If this unit was stand by its original auto ability, this turn, counterblast 1, stand this unit, and this unit gets drive +2 until the end of turn. So overall, you're performing 4 drive checks with Rakshasa. So 4 by, the will of the Vanguard lords or whatever. You could potentially pull 4 crits or 3 crits in an over trigger. Which is just absolutely insane. Moving on, we are running 2 copies of Twin Pulsive Dragon. I really only feel like you need 2, just with its skill, because you're drawing a lot of cards. The superior calling ability isn't necessarily something you will be using a lot, just because you're drawing a lot of cards with Varga, so you have a chance to replace them. Anyways, whenever it's placed on rear guard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Varga in its name, Energy Blast 3, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 or grade 2 or less from among them, call it to rear guard, and shuffle the deck. When this unit is retired from rear guard by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Varga in its card name, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets 5,000 until the end of turn. So extra boost onto either Rakshasa or base Varga, extra 5k on top of the multiple drive checks that you're doing that turn. For the last of the grade 3s, we are running 4 copies of Obdurancy Glaive Dragon. I run 4 of these just because it can't be retired by Varga's ability whenever it's in the front row, and if it's in the back row, it gets boost. So that's a 13k booster and a 23k attacker that can't be retired by Varga's skill. So I prefer to run 4 of those just to, just to keep the formation up. Moving on to the grade 2s, we are running 4 copies of Dragres Shura, and its skill is whenever this unit attacks, Energy Blast 2, this unit gets 5,000 power until the end of that battle. Choose one of your rear guards, and it gets, with a different name from this unit, and it gets, when this unit is retired from rear guard, put this unit into the hand until the end of turn. And then its other skill is when this unit is retired by rear guard, by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Varga in its name. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counterblast 1, call this unit to rear guard, and it gets 10,000 power until the end of turn. So, reviving is a very useful skill, especially in Varga with retiring all the effects, and then it also gets an extra 10k whenever it is revived, and then if you Persona row, then that's an extra 20, that's a 30k attacker, plus whatever you have in your back row. So Shura is definitely a necessity in this deck. You can play it without it. I actually did play without Shura, and I did pretty well. I did pretty well with Shura. Without Shura. I won, I think I played 3 matches in that tournament, and I won 2 of them. So I did all right. Moving on, we are running 4 copies of Elegant Fiend of Ice Petals. I don't even know how to say it. Mafuyu, I think it says. Yes, Mafuyu. This is just an intercept restrict. Instead of having Rokusei as a booster, and with the draw power, you can also run this whenever it is on a rear guard. During your opponent's turn, or during your turn, your opponent's intercept does not activate the auto abilities of your guardians, and it loses all their continuous and auto abilities. This is really useful, really only in just a number of situations, but it is useful if you're playing against somebody that is using Alden, which gains an extra 20k whenever it intercepts. So this would be really good if you're playing against an Alden player, but it also kind of is a double-edged sword because they can just attack it and then that ability is gone. So honestly, instead of running these, I would either run Rokusei or play Dragres or Fallheart. But at this point, as of the recording of this video, Fallheart is still like $30 a copy, and I ain't doing that. For the last of the grade 2s, we are just running 2 extra copies of Boulder Axe Dragon for the extra 5k when it attacks, and then at the end of that turn, retire the unit and draw a card. Extra draw power for Varga. Moving on to the grade 1s, we are running 3 copies of Impale Horn Dragon. During the battle, this unit boosted if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Varga in its card name. This unit gets 5,000 power. When this unit boosts a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Varga in its name, this unit gets 2,000 power, and at the end of that battle, Soul Blast 1, retire this unit, draw a card, extra power, draw power. Kind of standard for Varga at this point. Then we are running 2 copies of Storm Slasher Dragon. I would run 2 more copies of these. I just haven't found any yet. I haven't found any at my shop, and I don't think anybody's trading them right now. But whenever this unit is retired from rear guard with the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Varga in its name, you may call this unit to a back row rear guard as rest, and if your Vanguard's in the Malworm state, Soul Blast 1 and stand it. And then it also gets an extra 5k for like a perma, actually. So perma boost of a 13k, and then you can retire with Varga, call it to a back row rear guard, and get that extra boost. For the last of the grade 1s, we are running 4 copies of Warrior Monk of Raging Flames Kofu, just for the extra 5k attack and shield. It can work as an attacker, or it can work as a boost, whichever you choose to do it. For the perfect guards, we are running 4 of the effect PGs with Manju. If you have 2 or less cards in your hand, 2 or more cards in your hand, just discard a card from your hand, and then activates the PG skill. We are only running 1 order card in this deck, and that is Defensive Roar, or Defensing Roar. Choose one of your units without Sentinel, and until the end of that turn, when this unit is retired from Guardian, put this card into your hand, and it gets 10,000 power. So that works for any Guardian that you have, whether it's a crit, a draw, I think even you could guard with an over trigger, and then it would gain, you know, have a 60k shield instead of a 50. And then you just return that to your hand, which is actually crazy, which is why this card is now restricted to 1 for any Dragon Empire deck, actually. For the trigger lineup, we are running 8 crits because you need the extra pressure with Varga. And then we are running 3 effect draws. I'm not running fronts just because I feel in Varga, fronts are kind of useless because you're retiring so many rear guards. And even though Obduracy Glaive can be retired, and then you can also revive Shura, you can also run fronts, but I just prefer to run draws to have the extra draw power. We are running 4 heals, vanilla heals. Just, you guys know my feelings on effect heals. They're very circumstantial. Rarely do they work, in my opinion. Just speaking from experience in like Deer Days and such. And then for the over trigger, we are actually not running Drag Veda. You can run Edis Faro, but I have the yellow OT Spiritual King of Bright Sky. This just has draw up to 1 card for every 2 of your opponent's open circles that total of their rear guard and guardian. Retire all of your opponent's rear guards and guardians. Not necessarily would this work in every scenario, specifically because of the retiring the rear guards, because you're already retiring a bunch of rear guards with Varga skill. This is more just for retiring the guardians and getting more draw power for Varga as well. So really the retire all of the rear guards doesn't do anything, but retiring the guardians does. And then as I found out, this does not cancel out PGs because the effect is already activated for the perfect guard. So that doesn't do anything. But anyways, that was the deck profile for Varga. Like I said, one of my favorite decks. I'm starting to like Dragon Empire more than I have. I'm still working on finishing Bob Sargra and Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion. And I do definitely plan on building Mahar Nirvana just because we're getting more support in set 11. Although this might be my favorite Dragon Empire deck, right next to Isle of Quilibra, which I have not built IRL, but I will probably soon. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching the video. I appreciate it. Go ahead and like and subscribe if that's your thing, and I will see you in the next video.